Hello, I'm Dr. Sam Hancock of the Emerald Planet and Emerald Planet TV. We come to you on a week-to-week basis from Washington, D.C. in the United States as we look around the globe in 144 different nations, looking for those 1,000 best practices, the technology, services, and products that are making a difference as we move through the 21st century. And as we have a planet of 9 billion people by 2038 and possibly 12 to 13 billion by the end of this century, how are we going to be able to take care of all these people on planet Earth? And that's what Emerald Planet's all about. We come to you looking at the solutions, the best practices from around the globe as we create the Emerald Planet. Hello, welcome to the Emerald Planet. We're making a difference as we move through the 21st century. And seeing the long-term impacts of climate change. We're glad to have you. Thank you for being with us. As we move forward with a new green economy, new green jobs, and new green businesses, education is really at the center and core of all of this. And this is what we're going to be talking about as far as the rain barrels, the DOEE, Department of Environment and Energy in Washington, D.C., but yet there are best practices here that can be used all across the globe. So we have Brian Rodgers, who's the Director of Conservation Sustainability. This is the Constituent Services Worldwide. And we're going to be talking about education and certification, why they're so important. One is with the Chesapeake Bay Landscape Professional Organization, and the other is the National Green Infrastructure Certification Program. And Brian's going to talk about both of those, but we're going to be seeing real people doing real things. And the training that these two organizations are involved in, you're actually going to be seeing people that have learned through these organizations, through the workshops, the seminars, and the courses, and actually applying these principles, these ideas, these processes, these best practices right in Washington, D.C. But again, these are available worldwide. Brian, welcome back.
Hi, Sam. How are you?
I'm wonderful. And thank you for introducing both of these organizations. But tell us a little bit about each. And then I want to get into the images that you shared with us and how people are applying what they're learning actually in the communities and the impacts they are making in each one of these different projects we're going to be seeing.
Oh, thank you. The National Green Infrastructure Certification Program arose out of what's called the MS4 project that DC Water is doing throughout the city. The MS4 project is the Municipal Separate Stormwater Sewer System. So it basically is a big pipe. And they were just going to put a big pipe underground to help manage the stormwater that's flowing in the city. Mm-hmm. But through some negotiation and some rethinking, they decided to do some above ground elements to help with stormwater management. And so that involves the installation of different curbside and rain garden type structures throughout the city to help manage stormwater as it hits the street. Mm-hmm. So that's what the NGICP program arose of. It teaches the construction, maintenance, and inspection of these kind of installations. Mm-hmm. The Chesapeake Bay Landscape Professionals arose from the Chesapeake Bay Landscape Council. That's more built toward professionals that are already in the field, and that focuses more on the maintenance and inspection of these new best management practices.
I think that's absolutely fantastic. And actually, I've been one of those over the years, have been actually trying to educate members of city council, professionals within city government, also in Maryland and Virginia, about the natural ways of dealing with stormwater, groundwater, how to capture that and put it to good use instead of just trying to process it and put it back into the rivers. But we're going to go through some of these, Brian, and I'm going to ask you just a few questions, but let's just kind of have a pace as we go through this tell us what we're looking at. But what I want more than just what we're looking at, Brian, is the impact it's having in each and every one of these different projects. So let's pace ourselves. We have enough time, but we want to be at a steady clip as well.
Sounds good. So in this first slide, what you're seeing is basically what's called bioretention in a bucket. The stormwater practices, the best management practices I was talking about, you have to understand what the concept is. So basically, the participants in the program, in the NGICP program, build these bioretention systems inside of a bucket, pour in basically dirty water and watch how it comes out and see how it purifies the water. So this is where they get to understand what all the stuff looks like. Same thing here. There's stones in the bottom of the cup, and therefore you pour them in and see how it washes over stones and eliminates byproducts.
Yeah, and I think what is interesting about this is, you're involving local citizens, getting them involved, but also the outcome of this is actually they may be able to set up their own new green business and their own green jobs. So, what is being incorporated in this so that when they leave here, it's not just something, well, that was a nice class that I took or a great course, but this is something that really can add to my future.
Well, one of the greatest parts about this program, and I have to give kudos to DC Water about this, the program actually, the graduates of the program are then entered into what DC Water calls DC Waterworks. So they build up a resume and a conglomerate of these kind of folks that have passed and graduated, and they're actually any job position that's open on a project that DC Water has in operation that involves green infrastructure. These guys are then able to fill those positions. So they actually interview for actual green job positions with contractors that are working on DC Water projects. And what's really great about that is that now DC Water is actually writing them into their contracts that for these projects.
Yeah, I just think this is incredible. Look at the number of people here that are learning about this. This is, the rain gardens that are being put in. I know this is a different area of the city where I am, but there's 12 of these, a dozen of these within less than about 8 minutes of my house. And they're adding more of these. And of course, then they're putting in the pavers in the alleyways. So this is really extending across the whole city. So why is that so important that we have the citizens from the city that you're seeing right here, along with the professionals, of course, but spreading it across all 8 wards of the city? And what does that mean for internationals watching this and wanting to incorporate this, whether it's Tokyo or London or Bonn, Germany, or Pretoria in South Africa? Why are these projects so important?
Well, because stormwater knows no bounds. It's in every country, it's in every city, especially it's especially prevalent in cities, but even in the countrysides and in hillsides, there are issues that stormwater brings that these particular kind of installations can help kind of manage. So, like I said, no matter where you are, stormwater is an issue, especially with this kind of with global warming.
And having citizens involved, actually, my Rotary International Club, the Rotary Club of Washington, D.C., actually is providing funding to this project we're looking at right here. And they almost every weekend, they have what they call volunteer parties, work parties, and people from around the district and even from the surrounding states here come in for these projects. What are they learning in this open air classroom, if you will, that they're probably not going to be learning if they're just sitting in a classroom or just trying to find out online about what it is to be concerned about the environment? What are they learning with these shovels and the rakes and the forks that you really need to be out there to learn it?
Well, Sam, some people are classroom learners. Some people are in the ground folks. I'm an in the ground folk. And what makes it all worthwhile is actually taking what's in the book and putting it into practice. And that's exactly what this is. This class actually is a landscape education class. The young lady there, she's LEED certified. So she's teaching them how to maintain best management practices, which is one of the real key things. It's great to install projects, but if the projects fail if they aren't maintained.
Right. Well, the whole thing about it too is having certification. This is something that I've been talking about for years, that when you do this training, if you go through it, everyone needs a certificate to say that they actually did this, a little background about what they actually learned and how they can apply it. Why is a certification and the certificates themselves so critically important to people in the inner city, or if they're in a very rural area, to have this type of recognition?
Well, one, not only the sense of accomplishment, but also there's a difference between a certificate and a certification. Mm-hmm. Certification involves more of an intricate game plan where you can really go out and you're learning real practical skills to go out and make an impact at a job, in a community, in a thought process. So therefore, this program does all three. You actually can go out in the field and work with a job and create projects and maintain them, but also you have the wherewithal to be able to know how those projects work and explain them to other people and especially your family members and the members of your community.
Yeah.
And with that certification, you're also bringing home the bacon to your community. You're showing, hey, I'm participating, and I'm going to show you something new and different.
Yeah.
So that's what's so great about it.
I think it's critically important. We're going to go out on this. We're about running out of time, Brian. So I'm just going to kind of stroll through these slides. Tell us what we're looking at, and again, how they're impacting the communities. And let's be quick on each one so we can get all of the slides, because these are great images and great projects.
So this is an installation over in Ward 8 in Washington, D.C. And as you actually can see, this is right across from homes. This is a bioretention right in Oxen Run Park. Mm-hmm. Same thing here. This is over in Oxen Run Park. You can see the two different inlets. And this is what you call curbside treatments.
I think these are great to have these side by side, because they're very different, but yet having similar impacts. We're going to have several images of this. Tell us what we're seeing and why is it so different than the two that we just saw.
So this is more street side curb cut. And in this one, as you see those levels, these are called weirs. They work to, say, for instance, when the first section fills up, it flows over into the next. But this is one of the key things. This was really filled with plants at one point, and as you can see, from a lack of maintenance, that's what happened. This is pretty much the same thing. This is curbside over in Northeast DC, and this one you see is lush and has been maintained.
Really pretty.
This is our rain barrel guys. So this is some of the NGICP guys learning it. You learn a little bit about everything, and that's what I think is really important about the program. It's a gateway.
Yeah.
It's a gateway into so many different areas. And when you find out what you feel like you want to participate in, where you want to make an impact, here, this is the Summer Youth Employment Program. Now, not only do these guys in the yellow vest who are NGCP, IGCP graduates, getting job training and experience, they're actually teaching young folks.
I think this is fantastic, Brian. Thank you for being with us. Brian Rodgers, Director of Conservation, Sustainability, Constituent Services Worldwide, talking about the Chesapeake Bay Landscape Professional and NGICP as we create the Emerald Planet.